So I've been told I'm a little bit sarcastic in my delivery, so I'm trying to be a much nicer person this go round, especially because it's 2020 and I still have what's left of this new decade to kind of make things right and help all of everybody else that receives my messages in a negative way to kind of just be recalibrated, kind of like my phone. This one isn't really working the best, and I think I'm ready to ditch the iPhone and go to like a Samsung, but that takes time for me. And the reason being is because I really do think like a dude. And you know how like everything's visual for them? Wow, it could be that I'm that just calloused. So that's where I'm at right now. I use my visual pictures to chart where I've been in memory. And memory is a big deal because when we have lapses of it and we can't really remember where we've been, it helps to see something like, oh yeah, that was really eventful. Oh yeah, that totally sucked. And that can help all of us to decide where we're going to go in the future, kind of like history. History doesn't have to repeat itself if we are educated. And education is very different from what the media tries to project it to be, because there is no education going on in our schools anymore. I've worked in them for many years, and especially in Savannah where you kind of find a textbook. When I tell you that right now it requires you being led by the Spirit, I'm not even joking. And that's the beauty of being a believer. It would actually allow other people to believe what they want and have fun with that, and you get to carry on and say, I bless you. But I just totally think the opposite, because a stranger's voice we will not follow. And I tend to dream big, and I follow all my dreams because they actually come to pass. And it's educating people in the ways of knowing how to do life. Kind of like when I was in high school, we had home ec. So, you know, we baked like these awesome cakes. I remember the pineapple upside down cake. It was so amazing. And then I went into the schools in Savannah and they had these huge kitchens where they were just made for people to come in and like create things. And they weren't even utilized, totally shut down. So that was the cool thing about the initiative that I started working with youth. We went into these kitchens and we're like, oh, let's turn on the oven. And it would smoke for a little while, but then eventually we'd get to utilize it. So as I find myself sitting on my back porch with the lights and smoking my stogie, because I'm not going to hell for doing that, it's very enlightening to realize that everybody comes with a different filter. I like to remain primitive. I don't like the new washing machines that have all the fancy knobs and they do the little sprinkle as they're washing clothes. I want to immerse it in water. I want it to get a good shake. Second wash, if you will. I don't like anything that's going to tell me, ding, 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 put your seatbelt on, because that basically insults my intelligence. And I'm thinking, I already know what to do to take care of myself. But I'm learning that the groupthink is not so advanced. And with all of these choices, like 50 different types of toothpaste, but we're down to like 2 key candidates for presidency, I'm actually seeing that many people like to be told what to do. I'm not one of them. That's why I use the new things like examples, just living my life, putting the dog out here on the porch with me. He happens to wrap himself around all the legs within a flat 2 seconds. Why? Because he's primitive. And if you want to get real, we're all kind of animals, aren't we? Primate state. Isn't it that we're always going to be survival of the fittest? So how will we fare with the new economy? How will we fare with the new things that are quarantining us? Like if you can't now actually interact with your neighbor because they are fear-mongering and they hate you because you won't wear a mask, then how are you going to make sure you take care of yourself? Question. How is Angie going to take care of herself? How am I going to make sure that I'm not offending anybody? And then I got to puffing. And I was thinking, you know, I'm not really responsible for anybody else. I am responsible, however, for my own walk with Jesus. And that's going to look different for every single one of us. So as I've ventured into new church circles, because they're starting to open up again, I've realized, wow, you know, we get to champion each other. I can be sarcastic, but I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, you know, it's kind of cool to make fun of yourself, because if everybody's laughing at you when you walk away, you might as well just beat into the punchline. And the way I see it is, I see things spiritually, not conspiracy theory, because I have a brain cell. But I do see things in a way that should be, guess what? It's bigger than what we see. So everything that we see right now, I hear the birds. Do you hear the birds? I see the lightning. I know the clouds are there because the moon is lighting up the sky. All these things that we see in the natural are just that. they're natural. And we naturally want protection, and we want camaraderie. We want to be able to have deep connection with other people. So in this time, if we're being limited in the ways that we can just breathe the air, I think it's time to be a little bit joking when it comes to how are we going to relate and move forward in our future. If things don't return to the way they were, and I love Gareth Elkins because he's much more positive than I. He's definitely prophetic. I am absolutely prophetic, and I see everything in black and white. But if I wanted to kind of sift through and make sense of some of the grays, I would say, you know what, as a therapist, I'm going to recognize that you have parts that I don't really understand. And you might not like the parts of me that are rising up to combat your argument. But I will always listen to your argument. I'm always going to allow you the ability to express yourself, because otherwise I would be an activist. Otherwise I would be a narcissist. Otherwise I would expect you to think like me. Otherwise we can't be friends. And I'm saying it doesn't really work for me. It's a little bit sad. It's a little bit heavy these days if we look at the natural. But I'm wondering if there's something greater that we can tap into. And the spiritual realm is very present. And I think just as I'm relaxing on a Friday evening and allowing my dog to stay completely trapped in his little web of what the leash is fixated on, I can recognize that he still has the freedom to be set free. I can unleash him, and he has the freedom to run around this porch and have at it, have a great grand old time. But if he doesn't have the liberty to do so, he's still going to remain trapped. And that's a mindset. That's a thinking. That's believing that somebody else has to confine you in a box and that you have to stay put within it. And I'm just suggesting, what if there's a spiritual atmosphere that's beckoning us, that's calling us to see something through unveiled eyes, that's asking us to think deeper, to ask questions, not to throw shade, not to hate your neighbor because they think differently than you, but to actually think, that's an argument that I am kind of curious about. That's something that I haven't maybe considered. And if I do that, then maybe we all grow. Maybe we all remain teachable. And I'm thinking that we really need to be open-minded in this time. There's going to be some challenges set before us that we haven't faced before. But in laughter, everything's okay, right? So it's not that I'm so sarcastic that I'm mean. It's just that I think maybe we ought to take the masks off, the veil off. I think we maybe ought to use our voice. We maybe should ask some questions. We maybe should be seen to the soul of our spirit by looking into somebody else's eyes. Hey, the masks accentuate that. But we need to dial it back a little bit and allow people their process. Allow them the ability to think differently than us and say, it's okay. I don't have to jump on your bandwagon, but I don't have to negate you either. I'm certainly not going to join any kind of role of racism because it's much bigger and deeper than the skin color that we all represent. I do feel, however, that I'm going to be available to those who want to seek and find. And so the Bible says that if you ask and you knock, the truth shall be revealed to you. And I'm suggesting, just as loud as all the voices and the noises are of what surround us, mufflers, everything that adds to our chaotic stance, do we have the ability to remain calm in every situation? Because we already know the spiritual mindset is set before us. I think that's available. I think it's possible. I think these are actually exciting times where we get to say, I might not have all the answers. I'm not a narcissist. Pretty empathetic. I don't have to make friends with everybody and everybody's not going to like me. Forgiveness is different than reconciliation. Doesn't mean I'm going to bump fuzzies with you every time that we see each other, but I will give you respect. I think respect is a big thing in this time. So as you're relaxing and chilling this weekend, I bless you, because it should be the mandate for a brand new week, because we're still in 2020, which is a brand new decade. And it's supposed to be giving us the hope for a future that we've not yet seen.